Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is Wacky and Weird Wednesday as we cover the weird stories and the weird reality that we live in and what weird things that people are doing out there, and we're going to tell you about it. Let's go ahead and start in with our headlines. Today on Before Coffee, the shoe thief Wizard of Oz wanted to strike one more time. And we report on a weird and wacky weather. And we will talk about the life of Charles Osgood. Weird stuff happening to cats. A pet cat was thrown off a train. And this shelter will let you send a message in your ex's name with cat's poop. The Federal Trade Commission goes after Turbotax. And Clarence Thomas may have finally some ethics inquiry. London gets CUTE, the exhibition about cuteness that you don't want to miss. Those stories and more is National Compliment Day. You look great. On January 24th, 2024, 1/24/24 on Before Coffee. All right, first news story. This is from NOS News, and it's from Monday, but we're talking about it on Wacky Wednesday. The shoe thief. A thief who stole a pair of red shoes worn by Judy Garland in The Wizard of Oz in 1939, stole shoes in 2005, has revealed his motive in court. He wanted to strike one more big time. An acquaintance from the criminal environment had told him that the rubies with which the shoes appeared to be trimmed had to be real. Otherwise, the owner would never have insured them for $1 million. But a healer helped the now 76-year-old gangster Terry John Martin out of the dream 2 days ago after the robbery from the Judy Garland Museum, Grand Rapids. The shoes turned out not to be decorated with rubies, but with pieces of colored glass. Martin therefore got rid of the shoes. He just threw them away? They eventually ended up with someone who told the insurer that in 2017 that he could return the shoes in exchange for $200,000. The insurer alerted the police and the trap collapsed a year later. The shoes were found and eventually the FBI also tracked down Martin. He was indicted last year. Martin is terminally ill. He is in hospice and needs to be ventilated 24 hours a day. His lawyer has asked that the court give him a prison sentence equal to the duration of his pre-trial detention. Before he broke the display case with the shoes, he had behaved as an exemplary citizen for 10 years, says his lawyer, until his unknown acquaintance tempted him. After much hesitation, Terry had a criminal relapse and is said to have decided to participate. The red shoes of the main character Dorothy, played by Garland, play an important role in the musical. Garland had several pairs at her disposal when recording The Wizard of Oz, of which 4 remain. That and the important place that the musical occupies in American culture explains the value of the shoes. The other copies are in the possession of the collector at the Smithsonian Museum of American History in Washington and the organization behind the Oscars. Thief Martin has never seen The Wizard of Oz. The court's decision will follow later. So, poor guy stole the shoes thinking that he would, make it big from some rubies. But it's just, they're just special to some people, and that's why they're insured for so much. Of course, since they were insured for $1 million, the person who lost them, I guess, would get insurance back, but not the guy who stole them. The guy who stole them doesn't get any money, unfortunately. So there's your first wacky news story here about the Wizard of Oz shoes.
No place like home.
Yep, no place like home.
All right, so we're going to cover the wacky weather. First off, flash floods. Sparks emergency in San Diego after 4 inches of rain in 6 hours. This is from the National Weather Service. Martha McCarty. Flash flooding sparks emergency. All right, flash flooding. This is the Independent UK, actually. Independent UK. Flash flooding has sparked emergency declaration in San Diego after 4 inches of rain fell 6 hours on, it was Monday, so this is yesterday's story. San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria declared a state of emergency after homes were inundated and cars were overturned as torrential rain swept through Southern California over a roughly 6-hour period in Monday. So 4 inches of rain in 6 hours. It's a lot of rain for a very mountainous region. If you've never been to San Diego, it's basically all mountains. There's no flat ground anywhere. Floodwaters swept away vehicles and caused cars to pile on top of each other, while several feet of water inundated the Mountain View, Shelton, and South Crest neighborhoods, as well as multiple highways. Meanwhile, 3 inches of rain fell in National City, while San Diego International Airport was hit by 2 inches of rain. Of course, San Diego Airport is flat, as all airports are. So basically, since the San Diego Airport is already on the ocean, rain just runs right to the ocean. Not a big flood problem at the airport. But in the hills, yeah, you got a flood problem. You got a mudslide problem. Meanwhile, the San Diego Fire Department performed over 20 emergency rescue operations along the San Diego and Tijuana rivers, with at least 8 migrants rescued after they were endangered by floodwaters in the Tijuana River on the U.S. side, Chloe said. Hundreds of residents of South Crest also had to be rescued by firefighters as standing water quickly surrounded their apartment complex, according to authorities. No injuries were reported. Mayor Gloria said that a high school in San Diego was being used as a temporary shelter for about 100 homes, after about 100 homes were in some way affected by the flooding. Sean Mahoney, regional CEO for American Red Cross Southern California region, added that the shelter would be able to house 375 people, providing hot meals and mental health support. 2 homeless centers have also been relocated. Further up north, the Los Angeles County Office of Emergency Management issued an evacuation warning near Topanga Canyon, effective through Tuesday morning due to possible mud and debris flow. While it's flooding in the west, it was freezing in the south. This is brutally cold weather reaches deep into the lower United States, causing dozens of deaths. Now, this is over a few days, so don't attack me for not being recent. This is from Adrian Sands of Associated Press. Much of the U.S. remained gripped by Arctic weather over the weekend, with sub-freezing conditions reaching as far south as Texas and Florida, but the numbing cold is expected to ease up in the coming days. Well, it has. It has eased up today. It's 42 in Maryland, so I don't know what the rest of the world is like. But that's what it is here, and it's not, the sun isn't up yet. So, freezing rain, sleet, and high winds gusts later Sunday made traveling parts of Canada and Oklahoma particularly treacherous. The National Weather Service said wind chills in Iowa made it feel like minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit, which is minus 7 Celsius. But the end of the sub-zero temperatures lasted into the U.S. Friday. It was in sight for parts of the country. The daily high temperatures in Iowa capital Des Moines, for example, were expected to stay above freezing starting on Monday, which was 2 days ago. No additional replenishment of Arctic air from Canada. A steady warm-up is in store for mid-sections of the country. So there was an Arctic blast over the weekend. Winter continues. And we have a famous newsman. Charles Osgood. This is from Washington Post. We don't want to rush through this man's his biography or his obituary because he lived 91 years. This is from Bart Barnes of the Washington Post. As host for 22 years, Mr. Osgood said he wanted Sunday morning to be the television equivalent of the Sunday newspaper. Part of a leisurely weekend routine, unhurried and free from the frenzied weekend news cycle. Charles Osgood, who spent 22 years anchoring the CBS TV staple Sunday morning and decades as a radio commentator, who carved out a distinct place for himself in broadcasting by occasionally presenting the news in a wry, doggerel style, and died January 23rd in his home in Upper Saddle River, New Jersey. He was 91. The cause of death was complications from dementia, according to his daughter, Ann E. Wood. In a varied career spanning more than half a century, Mr. Osgood served as a manager of a classical music radio station and the country's first pay TV outlet. He wrote lyrics to Nancy Wilson's song Black is Beautiful and helped compose the Grammy-winning spoken word record Gallant Men, a patriotic ode to America's fighting forces that became a surprise top 40 hit during the Vietnam War. The The bow-tie sporting Mr. Osgood started his CBS tenure that same year, initially as a radio anchor reporter, and became a network stalwart. As a radio and television correspondent, he transitioned with ease between hard news and celebrity profiles, and also hosted specials and documentaries. He spent much of the 1980s as Sunday night anchor for CBS News. Despite his versatility, Mr. Osgood faced a daunting challenge when he took over Sunday morning in 1994 from the retiring Charles Kuralt, one of the network's most beloved newsmen. Kuralt had started the 90-minute Sunday program in 1979 and molded the show in his own idiosyncratic style. Sunday morning mirrored Kuralt's singular on-the-road dispatches for the CBS News under the anchor Walter Cronkite. Kuralt chronicled the offbeat, poignant, gently humorous, and undercover stories as he wandered the country's highways and byways, the same leisurely, almost contemplative pace infused Sunday morning. On Osgood's watch, Sunday morning continued, and the Kuraltian tradition of down-home folklore blended with culture, sports, and nature. There were stories about elephants painting on canvas, tractor ballets, centenarian bricklayers, interesting yarns that would never lead the evening news. He also interviewed towering figures in the arts, such as painter Andrew Wyeth, playwright Edward Albee, and opera singer Placido Domingo. Mr. Osgood said he wanted Sunday morning to be the television equivalent of the Sunday newspaper, part of a leisurely weekend routine, unhurried and free from the frenzied weekday news cycle. In fact, he said he was unhappy when breaking news forced changes in his carefully planned shows, such as on the Sunday morning on December 2003 when it was announced that Saddam Hussein had been captured. Sunday morning won 3 Emmy Awards for Outstanding Morning Program during Mr. Osgood's tenure with the show, which ended in September 2016. He was replaced by Jane Pauley. In 2004, Jane Pauley's been there now for 8 years, almost. 2004, the then San Francisco Chronicle television critic Tim Goldman praised Mr. Osgood for having these folksy narrative instincts of Kuralt, observing that kind of endearing figurehead was necessary to retain the special atmosphere created in those precious 90 minutes. Mr. Osgood's signature TV sign-off, "See you on the radio," promoted his news break, later called the Osgood File, segments for CBS Radio. They were brief daily commentaries with contents he once told the New York Times fell somewhere between a presidential speech and the latest basketball scores. Talked about such commonplace vexations as the vanishing of a single sock into the washing machine maw, and the mind-boggling irony of a thief who successfully sued his victims for harming him in the course of his robbery. The latter inspired one of his verses. People used to say that crime does not pay, and at one time, that was how it was. But if crime didn't pay in an earlier day, these days in the courtroom it does. When former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger delivered the morning weather report on CBS this morning show, Mr. Osgood marked the event in song, "I Wonder Who's Kissing Her Now," ha ha ha. He sang the tune of the venerable pop song, "I Wonder Who's Kissing Her Now." Got it. Right on. Whether on the radio, Mr. Osgood often accompanied himself on a piano. His celebrity and his skill on the keyboard once earned him a spot playing a Gershwin melody with the New York Pops at Carnegie Hall. Someone suggested that I'm a fourth-rate piano player, he told the St. Louis Dispatch in 1991. I insist I'm third-rate. Charles Osgood Wood III, son of textile salesman, was born in Bronx in January 8, 1933. He adopted his middle name as a surname when he began his broadcasting career at ABC to avoid confusion with a network announcer named Charles Woods. Mr. Osgood grew up mostly in Baltimore, which became the locus of his 2004 book, Defending Baltimore Against Enemy Attack, a boyhood year during World War II. The year in question was 1942, when 9-year-old Charles, glued to the radio broadcasts and war news, plotted the advance and retreats of military forces with pins stuck in maps. This kid was into it. His family moved again, and he completed high school in Englewood, New Jersey in 1954. He graduated with an economics degree from Fordham University in New York. In school, I didn't have a chance to rhyme, he once said, because nothing rhymes with gross national product. He worked on the college radio station with colleagues, including future star Alan Alda, and he spent 3 years as a master of ceremonies in the U.S. Army Band at Fort Myer, Virginia, during which time he co-wrote several songs with his roommate John Kakavas, who became a prolific composer for television. Their gallant men was Senator Everett Dirksen reciting the verse won a Grammy. Mr. Osgood produced noted that the piece shows up in a parade scene in the counterculture biker film classic Easy Rider, and that whenever the movie was shown on TV, he received a royalty payment of 4 cents. After his Army stint, Mr. Osgood hoped to be an executive track of broadcasting. He worked in a managerial positions at the Washington area classical music station WGMS and a paid TV station WHCT based in Hartford, Connecticut. He was fired in 1964, less than a year into his job at the TV station when the business began to hemorrhage money. I thought it was the world's greatest expert on pay TV, he later told Time magazine. But since there was only one pay TV station, mine, my services are not exactly in demand. I went from being the youngest manager of a TV station in the U.S. to being the oldest radio cub reporter. He took an entry-level position with ABC Radio in 1967, moved to CBS radio affiliate in New York as an anchor and reporter. His news break segments, poetry included, were discouraged by management until listeners began to write in approvingly about his whimsical twist on the news. In 1973, when House Speaker Carl Albert turned down Vice President Spiro Agnew's request for a House probe into bribery charges against him, Mr. Osgood presented a criticism of Albert in verse. You accuse me of just doing nothing. It's not true. As a matter of fact, I am far beyond doing nothing. I am boldly refusing to act. There you go. Mr. Osgood was inducted into several broadcasting halls of fame and won prestigious journalism honors, including Peabody Awards. From 1988 to 1993, he wrote a newspaper column syndicated by what was then the Tribune Media Service. So there you go. Let's read one mass poem from Charles Osgood before he passed this on. His first marriage to Teresa Audet ended in divorce in 1973. Mr. Osgood married Jean Crafton. In addition to his wife, survivors include 5 children from his second wife, Kathleen Wood, Griffiths, Kenneth Winston Wood, Anne E. Wood, Emily J. Wood, and Jamie Wood, a sister, a brother, and 6 grandchildren. Many of the Osgood file anecdotes and poems were reprinted in his books. One volume was called There's Nothing That I Wouldn't Do If You Would Be My POSSLQ. The initials represented the U.S. Census Bureau's category for persons of opposite sex sharing living quarters. POSSLQ. All right. In one passage of Doggerel, Mr. Osgood wrote, "There's nothing that I wouldn't do. You would be my POSSLQ. You'll live with me and I with you. You'll be my POSSLQ. I will be your friend and so much more. That's what a POSSLQ is for. And everything we will confess, yes, even to the IRS." There's your long, extended obituary for Charles Osgood.
Well, he deserves it, so rest in peace, and I don't know. See you again in another life, I guess.
Yeah.
Long life. Alright, now for some more sad news. A pet cat was thrown off a train, and unfortunately, they did not survive the cold weather. And now, thousands want the conductor to lose their job. Which I think she should, because what the hell? But this is wacky and weird news of throwing cats off trains because, oh god, cats aren't allowed on the train. Well, it's here now. Get over it. More than 300,000 people have signed a petition calling for a Russian train conductor to lose her job after she threw a pet cat off a train, believing it was a stray. The white and ginger tomcat known as Twix escaped from his carrier on a train traveling between Yekaterinburg and St. Petersburg on January 11th. He was found by the conductor, who forcibly ejected the animal from the carriage while the train was stopped in the town of Kirov, east of Moscow. Hundreds of people banded together in sub-zero temperatures to search for the animal, who was later found dead on January 20th, a little over half a mile from the train tracks where he had been left. Volunteers reported that Twix had perished from severe cold and suffered a number of suspected animal bites. The incident has sparked widespread outrage in Russia, with thousands following the story on dedicated social media accounts. Others reshared viral footage of the cat being dropped into snow and the temperatures approaching negative 22 Fahrenheit or negative 30 Celsius. A separate petition called for a criminal charge to be brought against the conductor had gathered more than 100,000 signatures on Sunday after being published online on January 19th. Local authorities have so far declined to prosecute the conductor, who has not been publicly named. Yeah, because probably the bricks gets thrown at their house. Local authorities have so far declined to prosecute the conductor, who had not been publicly named. In a statement, Russian state train operator RZHD said that it sincerely regretted the death of Twix and vowed it would change rules on how employees should approach unaccompanied animals. Yeah, like maybe not throw them off a train in negative degree weather. We sincerely regret the death of Twix, the cat, and apologize to his owners. Yeah, maybe you can buy them a new cat. To ensure similar incidents will not happen in the future, amendments are being already made to the documents used to transport pets on long-distance trains. Conductors will be prohibited from disembarking animals from carriages. Instead, animals will be handed to station workers who can contact animal welfare groups. Yeah, that would be logical. Hey, there's a weird cat on our train. Here you go, other person. Take this and put them in a shelter somewhere. Not throw them out the freaking window of the train. I know that's not what happened, but... Right. Sorry?
Either way.
I can't hear you.
Either way, she didn't give a shit about the cat.
Yeah, she didn't care.
Either way, she didn't give a shit about the cat.
And that's worse than anything.
Whether it was somebody's cat or not is irrelevant.
In a very short other cat news, love stinks. This is from Ben Hooper on Odd News. Ally shelter will have cats poop your ex's name. That's right. This is in Rhode Island. An animal shelter is offering jilted lovers and ex-friends the opportunity to have the target of their scorn's name bird in kitty litter for Valentine's Day. The Rhode Island Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals said its Love Stinks promotion will allow members of the public to get some sweet and stinky revenge at a time of the year most are celebrating love. For a $5 donation, we will write the name of an ex-friend, lover, or even something you wish to bury in a litter box for our shelter cats to poop all over. RISPCA officials wrote on the fundraiser's website. How's that for a stinky retribution?
It's perfect.
Retribution. There you go. That's what they're trying to say. How's that for a stinky retribution? There you go. I got it at the end. I'm like, what are they trying to say? What's the pun here? The fundraiser runs through Valentine's Day. So I'm sure they'll accept $5 from anybody. You don't even have to be an American citizen. So go ahead and get that scorn out. Let go of that bitterness you've been holding on to and let a cat poop on it, I guess. They're ending you with some more positive news. Your story. Mine are really short compared to yours.
Comic dog proud.
Yeah.
It'll make Triumph the insult comic dog proud. I
yeah,
poop on
hell
you.
Yeah.
I poop on you. Okay. And chicanery knows, because grifters got a grift. Clarence Thomas. This is from Slate.com. There's finally, let's see if somebody put their name on this one. Yeah, they did. Dennis Aftergut. That's his name. Aftergut. You know what happens after gut. And Austin Surratt. There's finally, the guy's name is Aftergut. That's, I mean, you would change that at some point, no? Maybe he did change it. There's finally a Clarence Thomas inquiry underway, but will it go anywhere? Last week, the Campaign Legal Center, a voting rights and ethics advocacy group, disclosed what it considered a potentially promising but extraordinary opaque one-sentence line in a newly released report from the Judicial Conference of the United States. The Judicial Conference is, according to the investigative journalists at ProPublica, a body of federal judges that led by Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. It oversees the ethics and financial disclosures for more than 1,700 federal judges, including the 9 justices in the High Court. The noteworthy line that the Campaign Legal Center highlighted came from the Judicial Conference's Financial Disclosure Committee. It stated that there was an ongoing review of public written allegations of errors and omissions in filers' financial disclosure reports. The filer was presumed to be Justice Clarence Thomas. For people concerned that codes of judicial ethics, like the one recently adopted by the Supreme Court, are meaningful, what the Financial Disclosure Committee said could be a promising moment, and a bad news for Thomas, one of the most ethically challenged justices in Supreme Court history. One of the most, the most. There ain't even a second place. There isn't even a second place. He is the most. We're not exaggerating, but the Judicial Conference history of holding Supreme Court justices to account is not a proud one. As ProPublica has reported, the conference has been less than a toothy watchdog than a subservient arm of the court. Members of the conference's staff, many of whom are temps, have hardly been relentless in inquiries into court misconduct. Oh yeah, the temps. Oh yeah, well, I was going to investigate, but my contract ran out. It was only 6 weeks. Wonderful. By role and tradition, they've been less intimidating than chickens in charge of the fox den. Indeed, their investigatory history appears to be one of whitewashing scandals at the court. And they're not alone in this lethargy. An NBC News review of states' judicial commission data from 2016 to 20 found that thousands of complaints are filed across the country every year, but about 1% of them result in judges being publicly disciplined or stepping down after investigations are open. So the jury is out on whether what Thomas has done will be enough to alter the usual pattern. That's why journalists, activists like those at the Campaign Legal Center, and the public must keep a vigilant eye on potential follow-up. Here's the background of the current Thomas affair. In April and August, in the wake of ProPublica's lengthy investigation and news reporting about the justice's apparent corruption, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse and other congressional representatives sent 2 letters to the Judicial Conference. They asked that that body to refer to the Attorney General Thomas's repeated errors in filing his financial disclosure forms. The conference has the authority to do so. And it should. The ProPublica articles has set out a list of undisclosed lavish gifts, including dozens of all expense paid exotic travel that went from here to Bora Bora. That's even without getting into the subsidies for Thomas's wife, Ginny, orchestrated through Thomas's close friend, Leonard Leo, the one-time head of the Federalist Society and frequent matchmaker between Thomas and right-wing donors. Again, the person on the Supreme Court does not have a campaign they have to run. They don't have expenses that they have. They live a fine life. They have a nice salary. They don't need donors. They're not a charity. They're not supposed to be out there going, I don't have enough lavish gifts. That's what Clarence Thomas has been doing his entire career and continues to get away with it. I couldn't do that shit. I couldn't do that shit at my job.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that shit at my low-level podunk job. I cannot do things in my job without financial disclosure. In other words, I cannot buy somebody a customer a meal, right? Got to be financially disclosed, and it cannot exceed a certain dollar level. And I got to report it. Not the Supreme Court. I gotta say, we have higher standards for low-life scum like me than we do for the Supreme Court. It really is pathetic. And more, at least the feds are clamping down on some people. Here they're clamping down on TurboTax. This is from Joe Hernandez from NPR. TurboTax is displayed. TurboTax, you don't know TurboTax. They always run a match, right? In the United States. Federal Trade Commission says the company behind the popular tax filing software TurboTax engaged in deceptive advertising when it ran ads for a free tax service that many customers were ineligible for. Yeah, it's free if you file the simplest form and you have no dependents. Yeah, it's free. But after that, yeah, you're going to be paying TurboTax for your service. Intuit, which is the company that runs TurboTax, was ordered Monday to stop advertising any free products and services unless they're free for all customers and unless the company discloses on the ad the percentage of people who would be eligible for the unpaid offerings. Samuel Levine, director for the FTC's Bureau of Consumer Protection, said the vast majority of Intuit's customers could take advantage of what the company claimed it was providing at no charge. Couldn't take advantage of what the company claimed it was providing at no charge. Instead, they were upgrading into costly deluxe and premium products, Levine said in a statement. As the commission has long understood, free is a powerful lure, one that Intuit deployed in scores of ads. It attempts to qualify as free claim were ineffective in Its attempts to qualify its free claim were ineffective and often inconspicuous. There's the word. The FTC opinion Monday upheld the ruling by an administrative law judge on September, which found that the Intuit engaged in deceptive marketing that violated federal law prohibiting unfair business practices. Intuit spokesman Derek L. Plummer called the opinion deeply flawed and said the company was appealing it in federal court. The decision is the result of a biased and broken system where the commission serves as an accuser, judge, jury, and then the appellate judge. All the same case, Plummer said in a statement. The FTC first sued the Intuit in March 2022 over ads pitching the free TurboTax products. The commission said that about two-thirds of tax filers in 2020 would have been ineligible for the company's free offerings, such as freelance workers who receive 1099 forms and people who earn farm income. About 2 months later, the company agreed to pay $141 million to customers across the U.S. as part of a settlement with the attorneys general of all 50 states over similar complaints related to its purportedly free tax filing services. The company did not accept any wrongdoing. Well, you paid, didn't you? That was part of the payout. We pay out, we don't accept wrongdoing, but we're paying out. Okay, why are you paying out then? Attorney General Letitia James of New York, who led the multi-state investigation alongside Tennessee Attorney General Herbert H. Slattery III, said she opened an inquiry into the company after reading a 2019 ProPublica invocation. Here you go, ProPublica, man, doing their work. That found that Intuit had 4 years tried to stop any efforts to make it easier for Americans to file their taxes. Intuit said it had helped more than 24 million Americans file their taxes for free over the last decade and argued that the FTC's action against the company is unnecessary because the core issues were settled in agreement with the state's attorney general. But again, don't say you're doing things free when they're not. For instance, I do taxes myself. I don't use TurboTax. I use a different service, which I won't mention because they're not paying us. And
give us some money.
No, I won't because I pay them. Why should I?
Yeah.
No, I won't mention them because I pay them. They don't pay me. Why should I mention them? Anyway, it costs me like $124 because I do business taxes. But even if you're just filing a 1040A, you're not filing for free. They're gonna make you pay. Now, you can file for free. You don't have to. You don't have to pay a nickel to fry. Taxes are not that hard. You can do them on paper. Really not that hard. If you're filing 1040E, you have no dependents, you're single, one piece of paper, front and back, mail it in for free, take it to the post office, they'll mail it for you. Anyway, there's your story. Back to you.
All right, for my culture segment, we're going to be looking at some cute exhibition photos, I guess. This is from Your News Culture with David Morquand. A landmark exhibit opens tomorrow in London, looking at toys, emojis, video games, and more to better explore how cuteness influences culture and society. And yes, cats are the main theme. That's right. I've 2 out of 3 of my stories, or I guess 3 out of 4 of my stories about cats today. I don't get
it's not
cute.
Catter Day?
Yeah. I get drop dead gorgeous. Food for thought there from American drag performer and choreographer Alyssa Edwards, who might not be as excited as we are about the upcoming London exhibition that focuses less on gorgeousness and more on cuteness. Exclusively, in fact. Indeed, if there's one exhibit here that Euronews culture is anticipating for, it is this exhibition at Somerset House exploring how cuteness influences culture and society. And it's simply and appropriately entitled CUTE, or Cute, and opens tomorrow on Thursday, January 25th. Here is the first photo I will share with you. So this is the first cute little photo of a cat. Look at it. So cute. So glorious. Okay. Then we've got, I think this is just like a kid's drawing, or it's supposed to be. It's called by Ado Mizumori, I Didn't Do Anything, from the Yayoi Museum. So I think it's Japanese. Yeah, it's Japanese. And it looks like a kid's drawing. So there, I didn't do anything. It's just a little girl kissing a boy, and the boy fell over for being kissed. Very cute. All right. Curated by Claire Catterall, senior curator at Somerset House, the exhibition looks at everything from emojis to internet memes, video games to plushie toys and food, bringing contemporary artists together from a variety of disciplines to navigate our relationship to the adorable aesthetic. Cute promises to be a landmark exposition exploring the irresistible forces of cuteness in contemporary culture, which will examine the world's embrace of cute culture and how it has become such an influential measure of our times, says Claire. Contributing artists include Mike Kelly, Yumeji Takeshia, no wait, sorry, me to say that again. Yumeji Takehisa, Ayo Takano, Ado Mizumori, Juliana Huxtable, Wong Ping, Rachel McLean, and Ramham, and more. Ramham, that's a lovely name. Here's another. This is the one from Karen Limenk with a cat sitting in his favorite basket. There you go. Not as cute as the previous ones, but it's still a cat in a basket, and everyone loves a cat in a basket. Then we have from Setsuko Tamura, Fancy Notebook. Here, two cute girls in little maid outfits holding a basket of kittens with their cute little glasses and their ringlets. One we're particularly excited for is the immersive visual and sonic music installation by multidisciplinary artist Hannah Diamond. Inspired by a girls' sleepover featuring a curated collection of videos from the like of Sophie, Charlie XCX, A.G. Cook, GFOTY, Coyote Pamu, Felicita, and more, as well as from Diamond herself, the artist brings her affirmative vision of hyper pink girlhood to showcase the best of super cute electronic dance music. And here is Hannah Diamond, there's a picture of Hannah Diamond. We've also got some Peeps of Willendorf, 2022 glucose syrup, sugar, cornstarch, dextrose, water. It's just the ingredients of the Peeps. That's the name of the art installation, is literally the ingredients in Peeps. So I guess Peeps are also considered cute. There's also a killer whale with long eyelashes. It's just a stuffed whale with long eyelashes, like so. And then, of course, we've got the unicorn cat, graphic thought facility, playing dress up with AI. So there is a cute little unicorn cat with a golden horn and a lot of rainbow fur. As you can probably guess, cats will play an important role in Cute and Somerset. In partnership with Sanrio, we'll be celebrating the 50th anniversary of Hello Kitty. Sanrio. The ultimate cute icon for some, a waving agent of kawaii with the cold, dead eyes of a killer for others. There is an entire section dedicated to Hello Kitty, featuring a display of Kitty through the ages, a dedicated plushie space, and a disco. Yes, you read correctly, a disco. Bit of a faux pas, as we know that cats prefer Meowtle, but it's a minor blip. We're still very excited. Thanks, David, for that pun. So check out the cute display from January 25th to April 14th at the Somerset House in London. So get excited for that. Also, this article is updated from the 18th of December. More cats, more cute cats. On to this day in history.
Oh, we're that far into the show. This day in history. All right. This day in history. I had not read any of these, so you were surprised. On this day in 41 CE, which used to be called BC, the Roman Emperor Caligula was murdered at the Palatine Games by Cassius Chaerea, Cornelius Sabinus, and others. Sabinus. In 1556, on this day, an earthquake in Shenxi province, China, killed 830,000 people. Wow. It was, that was 500 years ago, man. Almost. 1848, carpenter James Wilson Marshall found nuggets of gold in California's American River near the site of the sawmill he was building for John Sutter, ushering in a gold rush. This day in 1848, the California gold rush started. 1862, Edith Wharton, an American author best known for her stories and novels about upper-class society, was born. Yeah, we need to know more about that. Upper-class society, because they're important. 1908, the first Boy Scout troop was organized by Lieutenant General Robert Baden-Powell in England. In 1940, The Grapes of Wrath, the acclaimed adaptation of John Steinbeck's classic novel, had its world premiere. The character Tom Joad's soliloquy on the poor, reflecting his empathy for the polite, remains one of the most famous scenes in film history. Starring Henry Fonda. They didn't put that part in there. Why didn't they put Henry Fonda? 1941, American singer-songwriter Neil Diamond, who wrote pop songs for other musicians before launching a successful solo career, was born. Famously wrote, "I'm a Believer" for the Monkees. I almost said the Beatles. The Monkees. In 1984, Steve Jobs introduced Apple's revolutionary computer Macintosh. 2 days after a groundbreaking commercial in 1984 aired before a national TV audience and heralded products impending release. When they say national TV audience, they mean the Super Bowl. 1984, the Macintosh. 1989, Ted Bundy was executed at the age of 42. We're not celebrating his birthday, at least. This day, Ted Bundy, human scumbag, was executed at the age of 42. In 1993, American lawyer and civil rights activist Thurgood Marshall, who was the first African American to serve in the U.S. Supreme Court, died at the age of 84. And he probably should have never resigned from the Supreme Court, because he would have lived until 1993, where Bill Clinton would have appointed somebody else besides Clarence Thomas. Anyway, because famously, Thurgood Marshall resigned during the Bush administration, so Clarence Thomas got put in. And I'm like, you could have waited, he could have not resigned. I mean, do what the Supreme Courts do now, justices do now. Stay on the court. You don't do anything most of the year anyway. Jeez. I mean, clerks do all the work.
Yeah.
2003 on this date, I'm still pissed off he resigned. I'm like, what the hell? You gotta do is stay until you die. Damn, that's the job. That's the gig. Don't resign. Clarence Thomas should resign. He ain't going to. He's holding on to that. He's like the NRA with that. It's cold, dead fingers.
Yeah.
Like, Supreme Court robe. 2003, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security came into being. My old department, I was working for them before they even had a name. Came into being as Tom Ridge was sworn into this agency's first secretary. Tom Ridge is anyway, I guess he wasn't bad now. I mean, he'd be normal nowadays, but back then he was like, one of these pious Christians that have no place in government, worrying about everybody's personal lives. Featured event this day, Opportunity's Mars landing. Launched in mid-2003, a six-wheeled robotic rover Opportunity landed on Mars in this day, 2004, and like its twin rover Spirit, which landed on January 3rd, analyzed rocks and soils and relayed pictures back to Earth. Our feature biography, Winston Churchill, who was born on November 30th, 1874 in Blenheim Palace, England. He was born in a palace. You know your life is gonna be good when you were born in a palace. Died on January 24th, 1965, at the age of 90 in London, England. I'm guessing he wasn't in a palace, but it could have been. Born in a palace. That's the first time a non-royal person I have seen a biography where they were born in a palace. What the hell? I guess I got to know more about Churchill.
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess all I know about him before. I know he was in the House of Lords, right? But, geez. Anyway, born in a palace. Other birthdays today: 1712, Frederick II, King of Prussia, was born. In 1776, E.T.A. Hoffmann, German writer, composer, and painter, was born this day. 1862 was the birthday of Edith Wharton, American writer we covered. Walther Model, German military officer, born in 1891, and we already covered Neil Diamond. Did we cover Edith Wharton? I think we did. Yeah, we did. 1862. Yes. So I'm not saying what national day is it today? Besides National Compliment Day, which has a little post-it note that says "You're great." I love when people tell me I'm great. I don't know what they mean. Do they mean I'm enormous? That's what great means. It means enormous.
Yeah, I guess so.
Library Shelfie Day. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Library Shelfie Day, 4th Wednesday in January. So I guess that's I'll click on it. I think it means just put them library books back in the shelf, the proper one, right? Some collectors of books tend to arrange their collections so their spines can be admired pleasantly. Others have a system of organization that results in an alternative art form. However, our books are organized on the shelf. They are meant to be photographed and shared on social media. So take a picture of your library bookshelf and put it on social media.
I don't have a library bookshelf. I only have a video game bookshelf. So there's a bunch of video games lined up. You can see where I spend most of my time.
Audio bookshelf. Take a picture of your Amazon screen. How's that sound? Send us there you go. National Peanut Butter Day also today. So while you're reading that book and listening to the audio book, and make sure you compliment people before you eat your peanut butter sandwich.
Have some kip satay with some peanut butter sauce. The Dutch special. Give your dog some medicine.
It's also Beer Can Appreciation Day. Somebody came up with Beer Can Appreciation Day.
I mean, it's fun to
if you appreciate a beer can,
it's fun to squash them. Beer cans, smash them. Little puffs.
It's fun to melt them too. Get a hot fire.
Oh, yeah, really?
Because aluminum has a low melting temperature. Yeah, it has a low melting temperature, so you can make aluminum ingots out of it at about 300 degrees. 320, I think it melts at. Anyway, so I guess it's celebrating the Kruger Beer Company of Richmond, Virginia sold the first beer can, American Can Company, drinkable canned beer possible. Okay,
okay, right. That makes sense because they're probably in glass before that.
Beer was sold in cans before.
Oh, really?
Soda was. Well, yeah. Beer was refrigerated before anything was refrigerated. Germans invented refrigeration to keep the beer cold.
Yeah.
It was not. It was
put out in the snow.
You want your beer to spoil? Shit, you want all that trouble. And of course, famously, before the 20th century, drinking water was not safe anywhere. So people drank beer and wine because it was safe. Back to you.
Yeah, it makes sense.
That's it for this day in history and all that fun shit. For 124 on Before Coffee.
All right, and this has been Alison here from the Netherlands, who's like to congratulate Lily Gladstone on being the first Native American to be nominated for Best Actress ever in the Oscars. I really hate that we have to celebrate these milestones that should have been done 20 years ago.
We can cover it tomorrow, huh? I forgot those came out.
We'll probably cover it tomorrow.
Maybe a culture segment.
Hopefully
tomorrow.
she wins,
Yep.
because if she doesn't win, a lot of Native people are going to be very disappointed.
It's a Scorsese film. She'll win.
Yeah. We'll see you tomorrow for Themeless Thursday. Here is your mic drop moment.
I've sung this song, but I'll sing it again. I knew I'd be leaving, but I didn't know when. After 22 years, today is the day. It's my last Sunday morning. What more can I say except so long, it's been good to know you. So long, it's been good to know you. So long, it's been good to know you. What a long time since I've been home, and I've got to be driven.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels: Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.